Good morning, day 130. Oh my gosh, here we go. Every day, do you guys get tired of my amazement? Like, yeah, Felicia, it's another sunrise, but this is my reaction every morning. I never know what I'm gonna see. And I'm always amazed by it. It's so different every day. Like, let me show you again, because what I see, and I'm an artist also, so maybe I see and pick up on details sometimes that others, but this water, because of the clouds and the shadows that are being cast, the richness of the color of the water, it's acting like a mirror. It does that a lot of days, but the richness of the color, it's almost like a black mirror. If you've ever seen a black bottom pool, that's almost kind of the effect that we're getting with the clouds and the shadows. Look at this. Let me see if I can zoom in and see the difference in the saturation of the colors that we're getting. But still a mirror effect because the water is so still. Okay, enough geeking out over the colors in the sunset. Oh man, God never just ceases to show up and amaze me either. Like every day, His mercies are new, His wisdom, the growth you can have, the epiphanies and light bulbs. It's like, wow. So I'm chapter 24, kind of doing almost like a chapter a day. There were, a few days in there that have been a little bit more than that, but we're walking slowly through Proverbs. So today we're in chapter 24, and there was a verse that caught my eye, verse 10, and it caught my eye because it was a little unusual. It was just one sentence. So most of Proverbs is kind of prescriptive in a way. Like it says, here's what the wise do, here's what the foolish do. And so you kind of have directions in there, like here's how to be wise, and if you're this, then you're kind of on the foolish end of things, spectrum. So it's like a spectrum, too, of our humanness. And in some areas, you might be, if you've ever looked at a life wheel, we coaches use that a lot, our coaching wheel, and you have different types of areas of life. You've got your health, your emotions, work, family, blah, blah, all these different things. And so in one area, you might be fairly healthy or wise. In another area, you may be like, whoa, I need to go over here and focus on this area. It can kind of help you hone in, good morning, on where you need to grow in wisdom. And so Proverbs is actually is a lot like that. And if you're familiar with the Enneagram at all, I've been seeing a lot of the wisdom of the Enneagram confirmed in Proverbs. But anyway, verse 10 is just sitting by its lonesome. There's no prescription. It just says, those who fall under pressure, their strength is small. And I'm like, okay. Now, because there's a lot of chapters and verses around this one, we can kind of like go, oh, I need to get stronger in wisdom. And maybe go. But again, it's just a very different verse than all the other ones. Usually it's a pair or a combination of verses. So it doesn't directly tell you, and it doesn't say anything about wisdom versus foolishness either. It just says if you fall under pressure, you're not that strong. So it's like, okay, well, how do I get stronger? And what does that really mean? So, and again, this is why I use the term spectrum, because there's hope for us all. Even the worst or the dumbest or whatever term you want to use, the foolish fool. I'm going to talk like Dr. Seuss. The fooliest fool can get wisier. And so there's hope. The analogy that came to me as a former swim instructor and lifeguard in my younger days, thought of swimming. And none of us, and when you think of maybe water in general and the depths of it, because deep waters is used a lot in the Bible, that description. That's life, right? And we're just kind of thrown in without a lot of instructions. There's not a swim instructor there, or there's supposed to be, maybe in our parents and the mature adults in our lives. But if they never really learned how to swim, then it's the blind, literally the blind leading the blind. And this is what a lot of us find ourselves in. Or we're thrown immediately in the deep end and we're like, we just have to survive. And so we might figure out how to tread water on our own or float, some basic skills. And then that's just where we stay. That's how we live life. We maybe flail around a little. Maybe we sink, fall, like this verse says, because we're not strong swimmers. Maybe we're not really swimmers at all. Or our version of swimming is treading. I was looking at my dogs this morning. Or maybe some of us kind of figure out like dogs do. We kind of teach ourselves our own form of dog paddle. And we can paddle around a little bit, self-taught. And you wonder why our planet, our governments, our families are, having a little trouble. It's literally the blind leading the blind, and we're all just walking, swimming around with just basic skills, not very many elevated skills of how to do this thing and how to navigate the water. But those of us that understand and learned and took the time to swim know there's all kinds of things you can do in the water. You can hold your breath, you can swim underwater, you can learn all these different strokes, you can stop and take a break, you can go to the shallow end and walk around. Like, you can play in some people even learn how to, do things like surf and play sports in the water. So the potential is huge. But it starts with kind of learning and having a good teacher, which is what the Bible is. So we all walk around and ignoring, we have this thing, but it takes time to sit down and read it. And not only that, but really sit and listen for the instruction to oh, okay. And then go out and practice it. Swimming takes a lot of practice, but once you get the hang of it. But as an instructor, we start with the basics. First we have to get you comfortable in the water. We start with learning how to hold your breath underwater. With little kids, we do all kinds of fun stuff. But if you didn't learn how to swim as a kid, it's a lot harder as an adult too. That's the other thing. Kids' brains are pliable because they're open. And they're trusting, and they're like, okay, we adults, we come in with, hard walls and ideas and beliefs. And who do you think you are to tell me? We're not very open. Some of us like to pretend we are, but we're really not. And so it can be a lot harder for an adult to learn how to swim than children, even though theoretically, you should be like, well, their muscles are more developed. Maybe they could translate and use their skills that they've learned to walk around. No, but a lot of it's in the mind, their mindset. They're just blocked. So I hope that's a good analogy and that it's relatable, because when we can be open, start to just okay, God, I'll just forget what I think I know and unlearn and to relearn your way versus the world's way, and realize that and be patient, that it's going to take a while to learn and see the benefits of just treading water. Because hey, we're in the water, we're doing it, we're surviving. What's wrong with treading water? What's wrong with floating? What's wrong with the dog paddle? I'm doing it. That's what a lot of us say about life. Why do I need to do all of that stuff? Well, as somebody who's learned how to, is in the process of learning how to really swim and go to different parts and even respond to some waves and know what to do and ride them a little bit better, and then take advantage of the calm water and maybe use different skills, it makes experiencing life a whole different ballgame or swimming pool. And my experience in being able to interact with it is so much better. I cannot tell you. And there's no shame, blame, anger. Like my parents and my family and all the adults I learned from, they were doing the best they could. They didn't know. And wow, how amazing that so many of us do get through life without drowning, without falling completely under the water. Or sometimes we feel like we do, and rather than, turning towards something like the Bible and to God, we figure out our own way. We grab onto other people too. That's the other thing about when you're not swimming and you get tired, you take other people down with you. You find the nearest person, grab onto them. That's one of the first things we learn as a lifeguard, how to avoid that situation and get control of somebody who's panicking, because we know, like in that mode, people can become dangerous. They grab onto anything they can, they're panicking. And a lot of us, another good analogy, a lot of us are really doing that, and then we're reaching, and I was one of them, and I'm still there in some ways, I'm still climbing out, I'm still learning. But I would reach for the wine bottle and Netflix as a way to sort of float for a minute. Okay, I'm tired of treading water and flailing around. I'm just going to float for a few minutes. That wasn't really helping me. I was just getting sleepier and tireder. I didn't know how to swim the waters of life. So I had to really come to that crossroads. Okay, am I okay with this kind of life? I see other people out there swimming and enjoying and having fun and doing these things. I started exposing myself to healthier people, and I'm like, I want what they have. I want that. And let's see if I can learn a new way. But it had to include letting go of some of the things I was doing that was just keeping me stuck with treading water and in a basic place, and then listen to all these instructors and learn and imitate and, practice and learn how to use my body, my mind, my spirit, my emotions in a new way. And it's hard at first. It's hard. That's the only way that you can get strong is by working with hard things. And every time you do, you get a little bit stronger. It takes repetition, it takes practice, it takes time. But eventually, I have this saying, one of the things I do is keep an inspirational quote on the dashboard of my car and in my office. So I'm kind of always feeding my mind kind of automatically. And one of my favorite quotes right now is, "It doesn't get easier, you just get stronger." Isn't that the truth? And it's like a picture of a woman climbing. So that's how we get stronger. It's by being willing, being open, trusting the instructor. For me and, on my journey, in my worldview, it's God and the Bible, whatever that is for you. But, really don't look to other people that are flailing around and going, help me. Look at the ones that have something figured out. Go follow them. Go see what they're doing. Go talk to them. Go learn from them. And then do what they do. Do what they tell you to do. And many of us we don't do it. We are stubborn And we're like, nope, I'll figure it out. We're prideful, stubborn. We think we know better. We love our people, and we're afraid that we'll be kicked out of the club, like all the reasons. Or that we need to listen to somebody, even though they're flailing around with us. And we're all in this together, like, okay, well, maybe if we try it this way. And it's the blind leading the blind. So, anyway. As usual, I probably went on a little bit longer than I always intend to, but hopefully those of you that tune in and are trekking with me, swimming with me, you got something out of this. I know I did, and it really encouraged me, because even when you're on the journey, and even as a swimmer, there are times when you've got to take a break and tread water. Treading water does have its place in floating. You just don't want to stay there when there's so much potential, and that's what we do. We live life in the shallow end, treading water and limiting ourselves when there's so much you can do with your life. And God's inviting us. He's like, come on, let's swim. Let's do it. All right, have a great day. Leaving you with a sunset. Bye.